Since we already finished with explaining the functionalities of the system settings menu, the next one to be explained is called devices. We click on this menu, we can see several tabs here, showing information like general info for all the connected devices, firmware update tab, and actions. One of the most important parts here is the firmware update. So for the sake of this demonstration, I will initiate a remote over-the-air firmware update on the base firmware of the alarming device. This page is showing us all the connected devices together with their current versions of the firmwares. We can see here that the last device, which is actually the X-Alarm device, has a base firmware update, which is a version 3.1.9.43. And the latest version we actually use is 3.1.9.66. So that means that this device is out of date, and we're gonna do a firmware update now. While the firmware update is ongoing, we're gonna show some additional information from this functional menu. Whenever we would like to do a firmware update, the manufacturer of the equipment, that's Digitex Systems, will provide an archive that contains all the firmware updates for all the necessary modules. Having that file, we can just use this button to select that file. Once we locate that file and press open, the system will automatically scan the file and tell us the following information. The following information means that we have base firmware with the latest revision here. We have a mezzanine firmware with latest version here, web server with the latest edition here, and the wireless communication module firmware also here. For the sake of these purposes, I will just use those buttons to select that I would like to do a firmware update only on this device, which is actually my alarming device, and only on the base firmware. By pressing the start update, the process will be initiated, and we're gonna see this process. This will take around 2 to 3 minutes for all the updates to be finished. While we wait, we can just see the other information. Going back to the info tab, we can see the information for all the connected devices. Of course, this is normal that this device is currently stopped with the status because it's ongoing firmware update. And during this period, the device is not active, of course. We can see the information on the other devices, meaning that we can see the status of each device that's streaming. Later, we're gonna do a short demonstration of showcasing these different streaming statuses for all devices. Error means that this device at this moment is not reporting any error. We can see the last device is showing 401 error, and user documentation supplied with every system is clearly indicating in a simple table what each one of those error means. Going further, we can see that this device, our accelerometer, is streaming 3 channels. We can see the sampling rate of 200 samples per second. We can see the communication interface is Ethernet. We can see that the buffer is using the internal RAM hardware. We can see that the synchronization is DigiSync. We can see that the time difference is within the valid parameters. We can see that compression algorithm uses DigiVLC type. The name of the device is X-Wave. We have several names for several different types of devices, like we see X-Alarm here. We can see that the base firmware is the version we already saw. And we can see some additional information like the device time, like the time when the device was last booted, how many packets has it streamed since the last reboot, the current Ethernet IP address, the current Wi-Fi IP address, if available, the storage, if available or not, how many modules we have for this device. We know that each of those modules have just one device. And we can see the versions of the mezzanine on the web and on the wireless interface shown also here. Additionally, we see that this device does not have any digital outputs in comparison with the alarming device that has 4 digital outputs and SMS alarming is enabled, yes. And lastly, we see the current voltage of each device, which can offer help us while investigating some potential issues Probably maybe that some devices, if they have some wrong power supply to them, we can see that information here, which will indicate potential problems. In the meantime, the device firmware is still ongoing. We can see this action tab here. And there are two simple buttons here that actually are allowing us to restart all devices simultaneously, and a separate action command that will tell all the devices to update their time as of this moment from the centralized station. Once we are finished with the firmware update process, which is clearly indicated by the changing of the statuses of this device, but also by observing the LED indicators on the actual device, there will be a lot of LEDs blinking, indicating that there is a firmware update process ongoing. The device will automatically reboot, and now we can see here that the base firmware now is version 66, which is actually the latest one and the one that we wanted to upgrade it to. When talking about devices, there is an additional information that we can see and configure the devices via the Voyager application. On the left panel, when we see each of our devices listed, we can just press on any desired device, and we will see the data and the channels streaming from that device only. That means that additionally here we see a lot of information showing here in this highlighted area, showing the same information that we previously saw when we explained the device's informational tab. However, we can still see the same information, meaning that the device is streaming. We have 3 channels, we have the last boot time, we have the current time from the device, and so on and so on. Additionally, the Voyager application is allowing us to attach and access the device remotely and configure its internal settings. The same thing that we did when we started this demonstration by going directly to the web page served by the device, we can basically do the same from and via the Voyager application. In order to do that, by pressing on each device, we can see there is a button called Device Settings on the top right corner. Pressing on this one will open the same settings that we already saw, with the difference that here we just do not see the real-time stream from the device that we saw it previously on its own natural web page. So same information is showing here in the device info. Net table is basically showing the same information that we already saw. Same goes for the configuration table, and same goes for the logs. Additional item here is that again we have some actions, action buttons that we can do to each of the device, meaning that we can change the streaming of the device, meaning that we can either stop the device from streaming. If we press this one, the device will stop streaming immediately. You can see that the data has stopped flowing, and the status will be shown as connected but not streaming. If we want to turn it back, just go to the same and press the start streaming button. Additionally, what we have here, in the meantime we saw the device continue streaming. We can do a remote reboot of the device. We can do a remote factory default setting of the device. We can even do a remote shutdown of the device. Additional feature from the Voyager application is that we can set the device in so-called test mode. By clicking on the test button, we can say that I want this device, which is actually my first of devices, to stream sinusoid in a number of in a period of time. So, for example, I would say I want 3 Hertz frequency with 3 amplitude and the offset of 0. And I will say I want this sensor to be in this test mode for 10 seconds. So once I do this, I will see that some of my devices, which this is the one that are actually started streaming and streaming sinusoid, which is generated from the firmware at the behind. After the expiration of 10 seconds, as you can see, the device goes back to its own natural parameters. In other words, to make the acquisition of the integrated sensor.